Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston, we are ready for the event.
Newsweek Magazine, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is Castalia Medrano, science reporter, Newsweek Magazine. How do you hear me?
Hello, Castalia. We hear you loud and clear. How us?
Perfect. I hear you guys loud and clear also.
Excellent.
Am I clear to start?
You bet. Welcome to the International Space Station. I got Norishege Kanai on my left, and I'm Scott Tingle.
Hi, Scott. Yeah, I was just about to ask who I was speaking to. Thank you so much. This is actually my first call to the ISS, so I'm very happy that you guys were able to take the time to speak with me. So the first thing I wanted to ask, I know this is the first space flight for both of you, and you both have completed spacewalks over the last couple of weeks. I was hoping you could maybe just take a minute to describe kind of the physical effects or sensations that sort of took you by surprise or that people might not know about. Mr. Kanai, I know you were a Navy diver, and I'm sure you both have extensive diving experience as part of your training. I'm actually a diver myself, but I've obviously never been to space, so I was just really curious about the physical sensation and how that went over with you guys.
So the good news is that we have incredibly thorough and intense training for years before we come up here to do a real life spacewalk. But you're right; it is physically demanding, and because you're exerting so much effort just to operate the suit, to get in and out of the suit, and you're out there for 6 or 7 hours at a time, and you're in the suit for up to 10 to 11 hours at a time. It's very physically demanding, and when you're exerting that much effort, you have to really concentrate on the job and keeping your mental facilities going in the right direction. It's truly a challenge. Heading out the door is like going outside and you've been stuck in the house for a month or two. It's exhilarating and exciting. And in the back of your head, you also know that it's dangerous, so you need to do everything right. The thing that surprised me is, when we're in the pool and we're training, we go out of the airlock and we see the bottom of the pool. And so we kind of know where we're at and we get used to seeing that. When you go out the airlock here on station, you see Earth, and it's going by very quickly. And it seems like you're just in a different place. And it's a little bit easy to get disoriented, but you stop, you think, and then you realize it's exactly like training. And so that was a really good eye opener for me. I'll let Nemo here answer as well.
I just want to rephrase what Scott mentioned now. Actually, we had lots of training sessions on the ground, and moving inside the spacesuit is very difficult, physically demanding. But we are kind of used to that feeling, and the real spacewalk was actually the feeling like walking or training in the pool. It's similar sensation, similar feeling, and I was surprised how they are close each other.
Yeah, that does seem surprising. The next thing I wanted to ask about was just sort of, now that you guys have been in space for a while, the physical effects that you feel most. Mr. Kanai, I know there was the misunderstanding about the growth spurt, but I think the general public tends to not realize how many different ways being in space affects your body beyond just things like bone density. I know there can be changes to your vision or inflammation or everything like that. So I was wondering what physical effects you two are feeling most, and then what kind of preventative measures or daily practices or routines you complete to try to cut down on any damage.
So there's, like you said, there's lots of things that go on with the body. The first thing is you end up going through a fluid shift. So a lot of the fluids that are in your legs and in your belly, they end up migrating up higher and leveling out throughout your body. So you feel bloated, you look puffy, and that sometimes it can cause headaches. And it's theorized it could be part of the vision problem that we've noticed with the swelling ocular nerves. But the other thing you mentioned was the vision. Fortunately for myself, I have not noticed any degradation in vision yet. We're only halfway through our deployment now, but so the clock is still ticking. But so far, so good, and I'm pretty sure Nemo's the same way, that his vision's pretty much pretty good. But the big thing that we really guard against is bone density loss. That's probably the biggest thing that we are concerned with. And the way we mitigate that is through resistive weight training. We have a machine up here. It's called ARED. It's an acronym, ARED. But it simulates weight training for us. We do lots of squats, we do lots of bench presses, we do lots of exercises, heel raises, things like that, to keep the load-bearing activity onto our body so that it does not lose bone density. And what we found is that if we work out for an hour to two hours a day lifting weights, that our bone density loss we can just about manage to keep very, very low over the course of 6 months on orbit.
Actually, if you have a moment, and wouldn't mind describing what are sort of the specifics of that routine. So you said you work out for an hour or two every day, and it's primarily squats and bench presses.
Yes, actually, we have a professional trainer on the ground, and we do everyday exercise according to their prescription, and it's very specific, and weight training and pulmonary cardiac training, like ergometer or treadmill.
Perfect, thank you. Now that Expedition 54 has come to a close, I know it's a few more weeks till the other half of your new crew arrives to bring you back up from 3. But what upcoming projects will you be engaging in that kind of excite you guys most? And will many of them focus on our ability to do deep space travel, like plant production so we can grow our own food in space, or protecting astronauts from radiation for crewed Mars missions or things like that? Just upcoming research and whether a lot of it will focus on deep space travel.
Sure. Well, the things that we're working on currently, and that'll take us through the next 3 weeks, like you said, we're working on our veggie program, and we have plants growing in the Columbus module right now. They're getting big. I'm really impressed with them. We water them every day. The lights come on at programmed times to give them energy, and it's really amazing how fast that they're growing. So I'm guessing that in another week or so that we'll probably start looking at harvesting and getting them into vials for the test team, and getting them on ice so we can send them back home and they can do some more research with them on the ground. As far as tomorrow, we're doing some robotics and robotics control research, which is very interesting to me. We'll be looking and working with a robot named Justin down located in Munich. And so we'll be trying to send commands and accomplish tasks. And we're doing that to simulate being in orbit around another planet, such as Mars or the Moon, and controlling robots to do all the exploratory things that we would like them to do. And then other than that, in the next week or so, we're going to start our path to EVA preparations. When Drew and Ricky get up here, we're going to be very busy working up to an EVA. They have an EVA about 5 or 6 days after they get here. And Nemo and I will be preparing all of the equipment and getting all the procedures ready so that when they get here, we can hit the deck running. One
thing that I was really interested in seeing how you both feel is sort of the debate around the importance of returning to the moon weighted against the importance of sending crewed missions to Mars. So especially in light of Trump's proposed budget, I usually just hear the perspectives of other journalists or people in the privatized space flight industry saying that the moon is more of a dead end that will tie up money and resources that would be better directed toward Mars. But as astronauts, what do you two think about any value in prioritizing the moon like this, or where would you like to see our energy spent?
So, when you look at, if you take a tennis ball and a golf ball and you hold them at arm's length away, you need about 10 of those to 100 of those of distance to Mars. So going to Mars is a much bigger task, a much more demanding task than going to the moon. We have a lot of research, we have a lot of development that we need to do. We need to develop our techniques for guarding against radiation. We need to develop our techniques for how we're going to control vehicles. We need to develop our procedures on how we're going to manage our bodies and being in space for that long. And there are operational concepts that will drive systems design to make the trip to Mars possible. And the only way that we're going to know if those work before we send somebody on a 2-year mission to Mars is if we have a place to test them, and if we have a place to develop our procedures, develop our systems. And the moon is the perfect place for that. And it's fairly close. If something goes wrong, we can be home in 2 or 3 days. If we set up an orbit around the moon, we can test robots down on the surface of the moon and see how things work. We can test growing our own agriculture, either in orbit around the moon or in habitats upon the moon. So, from my perspective, I see as going back to the moon is critical. And some folks say that, well, we've done that before, and we have done it before, and that's part of the risk management. But the folks that did it before a lot of them are out of the industry right now. While we still have a lot of the corporate knowledge, we have a very young crowd, and we need to be taking these smaller steps before we head out on a mission to Mars. It's very possible to do this, but I think the moon will be a proving ground for us to get there.
That's perfect. I've definitely been curious as to how you guys feel about that. One thing that you did mention that I also wanted to ask about is the issue of radiation for astronauts in deep space travel. I've been reading about a lot of recent research trying to guard against that. What do you guys think will be sort of the next step in terms of researching different ways to protect against radiation?
That's a great question, and actually we are using International Space Station to determine how to protect the radiation or how much radiation we have right now. So actually I have a dosimeter in my pocket. The crew always wear dosimeters and measure the radiation every day, and we can evaluate after the mission. So this kind of very basic data is very, very important for the future exploration.
And you said it measures your radiation exposure. Is that something that it updates you with the levels every day, or you can only find out how much radiation you've been exposed to personally after you land back on the ground?
Yes, crew-worn dosimeter is only evaluated after the mission, but we have another kind of devices all around the space station. Some are real-time readings, some are bring back and evaluate. So that's a great research in the radiation protection field in the space station.
Perfect, thank you. One other thing kind of related to the Moon versus Mars thing, I wanted to know how you both feel about kind of the rise of the privatized spaceflight industry and the idea, I guess, that they present of sort of space tourism going forward, that certain companies will, if you can afford it, will be able to take kind of tourists into like a low orbit or maybe potentially close to the moon. How do you guys feel about that development potentially coming around over the next couple of years?
I think in general we're all very excited to see that happen. Humans are in space to stay, and bringing commercial entities into the environment and the community and the culture is great. It's gonna improve the amount of people looking at our systems. It's gonna improve the talent that we have creating new systems, and it's going to get costs down so that it'll be more affordable for everybody. So we're really happy about it.
Perfect. Yeah, I was hoping you guys would be. Then I guess with the remaining couple of minutes that we have, any additional details you could provide about the research projects that Expedition 55 will be going into? I know we touched earlier on growing plants and things like that, but just sort of the specific research that you'll be getting into, and what you're most particularly excited about.
Yes, personally, I am expecting or getting excited about the protein crystallization experiment in the Japanese module. And the protein crystallization in space is much more higher quality protein we can get in space. Then bring back Earth, that crystal, and analyzing that. Then we can figure out the detailed structure of the protein. Then that kind of research will make new drugs or makes finding a new material for the drugs and the medical field, and it's very beneficial for the Earth, the people in the Earth.
And some of the other research that we have going on over here to my right, we have a combustion rack that we're doing a little bit of research on cold flames, as well as with atomization. Both I'm a thermal sciences background for my academic training, and it's very interesting to me. And in the rack right next to it, we have our fluids research, and they're doing a lot of capillary flow type experiments. So I'll be really interested in seeing some of the results that on their reports when I get back from this mission to see what we did.
Great. And when you say fluids researching and capillary flow, would that be to study the effects of the pressure in space on blood flow within your bodies? Am I understanding that right?
Well, with the flows and the atomization and propagation of flame, as well as the fluid flows, the capillary flows, we get rid of the body force, gravity, but we do. So you have surface tension, and you have the other propelling forces, whether it's coming through a nozzle from a pump or if it's just natural. It's just very interesting to see the different things that they're using to do these investigations, and a lot of it will have great impact at home, such as bringing down fuel, or maybe driving changes in our internal combustion engines, bringing down costs of engines if we can run at a colder flame, things like that.
Perfect, thank you. And I think we just have a minute or so left, so I won't start a long new topic that will get you cut off. But I guess anything else that either of you would like to add just about how you're feeling about the upcoming missions in general, just anything that you would want to add to sign off about. And again, thank you.
So Expedition 55 will start off with a big bang. We got a lot of operations planned. We'll start off with an EVA, maybe 2 or 3 EVAs. We also have SpaceX coming up and dropping off some cargo, and then we'll have orbital coming up and dropping off some cargo, which means there's lots and lots of work. There's lots of science coming up. It's going to be very busy. Right now, we're just laying the foundation to be organized and to be ready, so that when Mike gets here, we can hit the deck running. But it'll be a busy 2 months. So stay tuned to NASA TV and www.nasa.gov to see what's going on with the details.
Absolutely. Thank you both so much. I know it's 1:25 now, so I believe that that is all the time I have. Alexandra?
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event.
Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications.